Hello, welcome to Real Magic Review, the live show on a Thursday, 5 o'clock. That's good, isn't it? So if you're watching this after that and you think you're watching it live, you're not watching it live, but if you say hello, I'll probably say hello back anyway. Right, we're going to get on with it in a minute. We've got giveaway results, and we're going to do that in a bit, and I'm going to talk about exposure. I'm going to talk about it for a long time, probably. No, I'm not going to talk about it for that long. But before we get on to the real meat of the matter, can you remember after this to go and look at onlinemagic.co, because that's the thing that allows me to do this, and we're going to talk about that because you've got to pay for that. Over 600 videos, live sessions every week, one of which will be me sharing my new sort of sponge creative process that I did on socials the other day, and the theory behind that, for good or bad, and the challenges. And so they happen every week, and they're uploaded as well, so you get like 4 of them a month at least. And I've just recorded a load of new stuff that I'm going to put on the course this week. So have a look at that, onlinemagic.co, and like and subscribe. And if you think this is enlightening or important for you, even if you disagree with it, feel free to share it on them old socials. Talking about which, I've got loads of Instagram accounts, but I want you to go to Steve Faulkner, at Steve Faulkner. That's going to be the main one now. I'll put the reviews and stuff on the Real Magic Review one. But the tricks and everything, most of the stuff's going to go on one because my head can't deal with all them different accounts. It confuses me, as it probably does you. So that's that. Right, I'm going to draw. I've got the machine now. I think I've got this set up right. I'm going to find out the winner of the quantum deck, and you have to just put. There's too late now. From this point onward. Oh gosh, it's gone off the page. I've got it on my laptop here. I'm going to paste the right thing, I think. There we go. I've got to, this is riveting, isn't it? I've got to do a little capture, 9, 17, and then get my comments, amount of comments, 32. So look, 32 comments. So if these giveaways, you've got a good chance of winning, 1 out of 32. It's not like something on the telly when it's 1 out of millions. I'm gonna pick the random winner. Who is it? Okay. So I've got it. Brilliant. All right, so I know who that is now, and you're going to find out at the end to make you watch me ramble on for the next 50 hours. No, I'm not going to. So a little bit on the comments here, and then we'll come back to them. Thanks for saying hello, everybody. Ezekiel, Drake, how you doing? Stephen Murdoch, Coffee and Ready, good. Anthony, how you doing? Good to see you. Check out Anthony's Instagram as well. Anthony Crapella, Crapella. He's got some lovely stuff. Gary, oh yeah, Gary says, let's not celebrate 8K subscribers. I didn't know. And I'm not like really, it's not like I never look at my views. I do obsessively sometimes. But I didn't know we'd reached 8K today. So thank you. That's great. I'm really chuffed. Imagine, when I started the channel, I thought 10,000, that'd be incredible. And now it's looking like it might be possible. So, you know, you can help me with that, probably. So Ezekiel Stewart, good to see you. Hope to see you on the live. Tony Walker has got a comment about exposure. Exposure, okay for simple tricks to hook people into magic. It's then up to individuals to bio-resource further knowledge. Good afternoon, Terry from South Carolina. Man, I'm so desperate to get this stage. Gary, how you doing? You've been putting some great stuff on the Discord for the course. It's just, it's very funny. Tom, how you doing? Tom, I sent you the link. Magic Man Pete, see the real Winslet fan, great name. Look, just loads of people saying hello, and I really, really appreciate it. Del Wolfensparger, it's Steve Faulkner. It is him. Thank you, JWD3003. I love your channel. That's really, really nice. Lice Whiskers. I know I should have had it's just getting so grey, isn't it? I'm starting to look like Father Christmas. Right. Exposure. What? I've just hit a wall just before we start this. If it goes all over the place, I just did that thing of like doing stuff all day and going, I'm fine, and then realising I didn't sleep very much and just went, so I had to run outside and get a load of food and stuff a load of food in my face. So I should get a second wind in a minute. That might not translate. So exposure. The reason I'm talking about this now is because it's becoming, well, a couple of reasons. It's becoming really an important thing to talk about because the landscape of magic is changing so drastically, and it has arguably for a very long time now, but as is or has probably my opinions on it. So the reason my opinions changed is I really always try to go with two things. Going with the stoic view, really, which is a sort of stoic value of kind of working with the reality of what you've got, really looking at what's going on, not what you want to be happening, but what's going on and working with that. And understanding what you can influence and can't influence, which we'll go back to in a minute. The second thing is, of course, as I said, the reason what I try and do is look at the changing landscape and being flexible. Now, when I do leadership training, which I do less of now, I'm doing nearly all the time on the course now, but when I run leadership courses, one of the main sort of qualities of a good leader, I'm not saying I'm a leader and we're going to be leaders, this is just, it translates, is flexibility. It's understanding you need to change with the landscape, with the times, or if you don't, you have a good reason why. So there's that. So going back to the Stoic thing, I started my course in 2013. It was called Card Magic Course then, and my main motivation to do that was, of course, it would have been nice to have some passive income, which it didn't become, and you know, all that. But it was also, I did this Stoic exercise, and it wasn't, I didn't know it was that at the time, and I did a course, and on the course, it was this idea of understanding what you can influence and not wasting your time on the things you can't. And this is relevant, so bear with me. It's out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about being proactive, and obviously we know what proactivity means. It's being causing things rather than just being reactive to things and making things happen. But it takes energy to do that. And the problem a lot of us have as humans, just being human, the human condition, is that we often spend a lot of energy worrying and focusing on the things we can do nothing about. Which is fine, it's a human thing, and you know, conversations at the pub, moaning and stuff is good fun, and I love it. But when it comes to kind of, you know, day-to-day work, you know, trying to function in the world, I think we spend so much energy on that, and the argument is that leaves us no energy to actually work on the things we can do something about. So the exercise is basically, and I do it about every month, right, this thing. I just do on a bit of paper, and you do a big circle and you write down all the things that are bothering you at the moment. You just write everything. It can be like a creaky door. It can be like something really heavy, like, you know, some sort of national situation. It could be anything. You just write it all down, which in itself is completely cathartic. It's really, really therapeutic. And then you look at everything and you circle everything. And then you decide whether you can or will or are going to do something about it. If you decide no, there's nothing you can do about it, you draw an arrow and the arrow goes out of the circle of influence. I can't do anything about it, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to care. That's a very different thing. But actually put time into worrying and stressing and moaning and complaining about it. All right. So if you do find something that you can do something about, or you want to do something about, you put the arrow in. Now, it could be something national, or you might think, oh, I can't do anything about that, but you could. You could protest, you could write, you could do something that may sort of influence in some tiny way the situation. So that's that. And I did that when I created my course. And one of the things that was annoying me at the moment was exposure. YouTube was not in its infancy, but it wasn't what it is now. It's 10 years ago, right, nearly. So there wasn't as much exposure on it. It wasn't as prevalent, but it was there. And it was really annoying me. So I created the course to put the stuff behind a paywall, to teach the classics. So all, you know, as a musician, as a music teacher teaches the classics, you know, really important to go back to those building blocks, all the moves from Erdnase, you know, very heavily influenced by Card College, things like that. And I created that course with that value of, I want to create somewhere where people can learn properly and put time into how I teach this. How would I like to be taught? Empathizing with the learner, doing it properly and justifying the fee for doing it. So I got the stuff filmed, put it out there, and that was great. And the ethos at the time, which I think is still one of the values, is that it's not exposure if it's paid for. That was the big thing I was always told. And I know there's more to it, which we're going to, but the big thing, if you're paying for it, it's not exposure. You go to a magic shop, buy a book, it's not exposure. Fine. But then you know, you've got to think of all the people who, the classic magicians that I love, who have said they've learnt their first trick by going to the library. And this isn't arguing against the paywall thing, bear with me. So you go to the library, you're not paying for it, but you're learning it. You're getting a book out and you're learning it. So, which I totally agree with, absolutely fine, no problem with that. But it's free. So it kind of, you look at the pay and it starts becoming a little bit less black and white. So what's happening there? Why is that okay? Well, that's okay because of effort, right? So we put effort into going to a library, sitting down and learning something. It takes a considerable amount of effort. And we feel as magicians that that justifies someone learning. As does teaching someone a trick. So we all know people as well, and it's happened to me, where somebody taught me something, and when they could see I was putting the effort in and I was genuinely interested, and it wasn't just about me wanting to know how it was done, they would teach me something else. They could see that there was something there to work with, and that mentorship is something that I value and has changed my life incredibly. People knowing that I'm not just I just want to know how it's done, but I want to learn this thing, which I find beautiful and lovely and fulfilling and all that thing. So you've got these two things going on. You've got the money thing and effort. And of course, back in the day, whenever that was, pre-internet, money kind of meant effort, because yes, there was the commitment of money, but to actually go and buy something, you had to go to a bricks and mortar magic shop. Yes, you could get stuff through mail order, but there was a process to that that was more than it is now. So again, there was effort in that, which justified that thing of it's behind a paywall, you've got to pay for it, you can have it. Now, what I think's happened now is that things have shifted. It's not the same thing. And we have to look at maybe instead of, I think, going for it's a paywall thing, going for what effort is required for someone to learn this, and does that justify the exposure? And I'd love to know your thoughts on this. And this is where I've got to. It's very, very difficult for me because I'm someone who is so easily influenced by opinions. I read a book, I believe it, I read a book. So I have to be very careful. And it's all part of my kind of ADHD, RSD thing, rejection sensitive disorder. I want to be liked and I want people. So I've really thought about this and gone, no, what do I actually think? Not what should I think or what would make me look good. What do I think? And I think this is where I am now, I hope. For me, the money thing is kind of, it's still part of it, but it's not the whole story. And it's actually, I think, a small fraction of the story. I want magic to be available for those willing to put the effort into learning magic. It is now, if I really think about it, and I want you to think about the effort it takes for you to practice. Most people that I say, what's your big, a newsletter go out, I've got a couple of thousand people on my mailing list, and they all get a thing saying, what's your biggest challenge in magic? I would say 80% of people come back and they're finding time to practice. I've got loads of stuff in the drawer, but I never find time to practice. It's not, I haven't got enough stuff, and it's not, I can't afford to buy anything. Now, I know that there are people that can't afford to buy anything, which is again, kind of where I'm going with this. I have very few people saying to me, I haven't got enough stuff. It's the other way around. I've got the stuff, I can't find time to practice. So what that does to me is highlight the difficulty in the commitment. And I go through weeks of not having time to practice because we have stuff in our lives, like our kids and families and work and things like that, that have to, come first. So the effort it takes to actually sit down and not only watch something, but learn something properly is huge. Put on top of that, in the current climate, the statistics say and the studies say that as human beings, because of social media and the fact that our focus is being bought by different companies, it's even more difficult to do than it used to be. There is so many things vying for our attention. The fact that someone can sit down for an extended period of time and learn something that's skilled, even a self-working trick is skilled, you've got to learn it, to the point where they can do it. And I'm talking from first-hand experience, takes me, someone who's practiced for years, a huge amount of effort not to be distracted. So that for me is the commitment. It's not what it used to be, going to a shop. Now the money thing is basically a click and you've got the trick. And not only have you got the trick instantly, you've usually got a little summary of how to do the trick before the learning kicks in. So it'll be a little thing of, and I'm not taking the side here, but it's like I've clicked that, within seconds I can see how this trick's done. So there's been a shift now. Actually, the money thing is the easy way to do it. The learning thing is the hard way to do it. So who's to say that the people that, if it just, because then what happens, it becomes the more money you've got, the more you can find out how magic tricks are done. And well, what about the people that are really passionate that haven't got the money? And again, I'm someone that has an online course. You buy my course and you get it straight away. So I'm not, I'm not saying it doesn't work to a certain level, but we're just looking at the objective facts here of looking at exposure. So in a way, if someone can spend some downloads, a couple of quid, £3 on a download, find out how a trick's done. Now, it might not be, it could be someone's trick, but it will have classic concepts in it, like a card thing or card to pocket, something like that. You can buy that for £3, do that, or you can sit down and learn it for free on the internet, which will require you to take that time and put it aside. I think the thing about taking the time is is what's actually keeping this from ruining magic. Because there aren't that many people. I meet very few people that say I've been on YouTube and learned how a load of magic tricks are done. Very few. I have met a lot of people that have said to me, remember that masked magician bloke that gave away all the secrets? But it still didn't ruin magic. It was horrible and it was hideous, but it still didn't completely ruin magic. People can't really remember some of the details and it's not really in the zeitgeist and people still love magic and it hasn't ruined magic. So the thing is for me is that it's out there. Going back to this exercise of working with the reality of what's going on. The reality of what's going on is that you can find anything on YouTube and find out how a trick's done. Is that an entertaining thing for a lot of people to do? I believe not. I think most people think they want to know how it's done and then they get a bit bored because it's actually not and then they want to watch the next video of something that is genuinely interesting that's vying for their attention. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm kind of generalizing a little bit, but you know, as a professional performer, I've never really had a massive problem with it. Does it annoy me? Yes. If someone Googles a trick I do, I hate it, but it hasn't had a really negative consequence. So I go back to that exercise and go, what can we do about it? The cat's out of the bag. It's happening now. If we just complain about it and say that something is wrong and don't do anything about it, we go back to the point of that exercise. We're using energy on something we're not doing anything about. And one of the other points of the exercise, and we all know people like this, that if you are someone that just complains about stuff and is doing nothing to try and change the landscape, even in a tiny way, if you're complaining all the time, people just stop listening. And that's why it's called the circle of influence. If you want to influence people, which I believe on some level we all do, and influence, I do not mean manipulate, influence people, be role models, influence people and teach them, coach them, help them, then if we want to do that, we have to not spend all our time complaining about the stuff we can't do anything about. I'm not on about conversations in the pub and having a lot and all that kind of stuff. I mean, generally, if you want something to change, and look at what can I do. Now, it may be that you look at it and go, I can't do anything about it, and I'm not going to put the time in to do anything about it. Fine, absolutely fine. But I went back to what do I want now, all right? I want people to know what a healthy, and understand what a healthy magic art form is, what it means, the respect for the secrecy, the thing that if you learn this, fine, learn it, but please do me a favor, understand that if you tell everybody how this is done, it's not going to just belittle the trick, it's going to belittle you as a performer and they're not going to be as interested. And why shouldn't I tell them it? No, it's not just you shouldn't tell them just because it's wrong. It's actually going, well, if you do this, there will be consequence for yourself, for the trick itself, and for the community. And what will happen over time is that magic will become diluted and it won't be as wondrous as it is now. Now, for me, how can I do that? Well, I can do that through my course, which I think is, as a paid thing, is really, really important. It's still, I think, to be taught properly, you should pay for it in the way that I know I can learn loads of marketing techniques free on YouTube. But if I buy a course, I know that I'm going to be taken through a process that by the end of it, I'm going to be able to do that job, do that marketing better. And it's the same with magic. So someone is spending their life dedicated to teaching magic, I think they should be paid for it, only so they can do a good job. And that's up to other people whether they pay for it or not, but if you want to dedicate your time to it. So that's what I can do. And I can also try my best to educate, and I'm not saying that puts me on a higher level. We can all educate, we're all role models for each other, but educate people free, so people who can't afford it through this channel, and maybe you could see this as it. And by educating, I don't mean you have to agree with what I say, but it creates a discussion, it creates awareness, and it creates a thought process. And understand as well that what is healthy for the magic community in any community isn't just whether people are exposing magic or not. I think we're kind of taking our eye off the big thing. What is really important is that we understand each other, we respect each other's differences with compassion, and we let each other make mistakes. And you get someone exposing a trick and they get jumped on with the most vicious attacks, and it's like, look, just maybe they're a young kid, maybe they just didn't quite understand, and that maybe that's our fault for just moaning and complaining about exposure and actually not doing the things we should do to explain, yes, you could expose that, but it'd be great because it would affect this person, and what we want to do is create something really amazing that actually drew you to this art form in the first place. So my view is this: I'm not going to complain about people exposing magic tricks. I will to my friends and have a bitch and a moan about it, but I'm not going to make a big deal of it. What I'm going to do is try and create something that will make the magic community a healthier place. And people talk about making magic healthy. Magic doesn't exist without magicians. It's magicians, it's the community, it's about how we exist. And I think that's the thing that maybe needs a bit of work. It's a wonderful, lovely community, but when I read the pages in the forums, it needs work. People need to understand that compassion and acceptance and empathy, even for those that disagree with us, is way more important than just jumping on people for saying the wrong thing and maybe exposing the wrong trick. And there is my sermon. Have I forgotten to say anything? Let's have a look. No. I remembered all the things I wrote down. So, that was a ramble, wasn't it? I'm not going to be able to read all these. I'm going to try to, but you read them. Make sure you all read them. Take the argument away from magic. I'll end DIY jobs off YouTube. Am I wrong for doing it myself and not paying a builder or whatever? Yep, good point. I learn magic to go into the library. Yep, which is what we absolutely talked about. Going to the library is not free. It requires some effort. Absolutely, Mike, which is my point, and my point about sitting and learning something. Years ago, I started a website, Magician, to upload videos pre-YouTube. Great. It was private membership with comments, etc. I shut it down because I did not want exposure. Yeah, and because it's a difficult one. I mean, I think, putting your email in and being part of a community without having to pay the effort is arguably, would non-magicians go there? It depends on what that wall is like, isn't it? They would have to find it and take the argument away. Oh, sorry. Marty, Google and being granted access to instant secrets is exposure. A simple password protected post or video is a way to allow people to prove that they're not simply secret hunters. Absolutely. I think he's talking about exposure on YouTube and TikTok, not tutorials. Well, I'm talking about exposure, I suppose, and everything. What can people... The things that people tend to complain about are someone on YouTube is doing a tutorial of something they haven't got the right to, or something that exposes magic. Now, by the way, it's a completely different thing. Isn't about taking someone's work and ripping the work off. If someone's released a piece of work and you teach people how to do that, that's wrong, because that's their thing. And there may be an argument against that, but that's my belief, is that this is all about, I'm talking about the classic things of magic, the false accounts, all those sort of things that expose how magic's done. So far, nothing I've learned didn't require significant effort. I have more stuff in the drawer and on the bookshelf, yet to look at than I'll ever manage to fit in my remaining lifespan. I completely agree, the real Winslet fan. How do I do this again? There you go. Secrets should be hidden from lay people to protect the magic. Discovering the secret destroys the mystery. I don't mind giving tutorials away for free to dedicated students. And that's, I suppose, and it's a really good point. And I suppose there's that line of where, if someone sits down and learns something, I always think it's nice to have an intro before you give the secret of the thing away, because then there's even more commitment. Because I know it doesn't sound like much, but, for someone to sit there for 2 minutes, I've had complaints on here saying, you've been talking for 3.5 minutes, and it's like, so that there are things we can do to make people go, I'm not watching this. It's too technical, and there are little things we can do to avoid that. What is public domain and what should be? Absolutely. However, I don't want to widely curious to stumble upon secrets. Yes. If you call a trick by its published name, some people Google it and name the trick. Yeah, which is which I didn't do with things like glyphs. So I think that you put a trick on, not that you're exposing it, but I performed it and just called it something else, and then only called it glyphs on here. And even on the short, I didn't. And I'm not saying, hey, do what I do. I'm right, but there are things we can do if we perform tricks. I don't mind kind of crediting someone if it's a routine, because people will just find the routine. They'll tend to find it hard to find the tutorial of that. Thumb tips, absolutely. Well, that's a great point, Pete. Thumb tips have been widely exposed, and I could argue that maybe the classic trick with a hanky and it's gone, but still, so many people don't know how they're done, because let's be honest. I know some people here might be different, but most kids that get magic sets they pretty much don't learn most of them, because again of the effort, unless they're really into it. So I never met a kid that's actually learned. I have actually, but that then became a hobbyist magician. But they actually got the magic set and actually got the ropes and got the sort of the cards that were Miss Pipton stuff. They just went straight for the kind of the vase and ball, because you could do it straight away, and the little coin in the slidey thing when it disappears. Everything else kind of gets left. And maybe the cups and balls, but not really. Fundamental talk. Thank you very much, Tom. A magician must sacrifice their ability to be amazed in order to amaze others. We guard secrets to preserve the mystery. Absolutely. And that mystery still should be preserved. That is my thing. I'm just looking at what is the healthy way to preserve it more. And that's what's shifted for me. It's not just stick it behind a paywall, that'll do. It's actually what can we do? The stuff that isn't behind the paywall, so we can educate people if they want to learn it properly, and accept that some people are just going to find out how tricks are done, but they're going to get pretty bored of that, because it's not actually very interesting, is it? I don't know that many people who spend hours, I don't know anybody, and I know a lot of lay people, friends, non-magicians, none of them actually know any still, and they've maybe had a look and they're like, it's boring. God, imagine this to non-magicians, it's probably boring enough to you. I'm pretty sure 90% of people haven't seen a magic trick performed live, let alone, this is great from Dave Anick. We forget this. I haven't seen a magic trick performed live, let alone have had something exposed. The amount of people looking for exposure is super tiny. Such a great point. And I know this because everybody, you know, when you talk to London magicians, of which I used to be one, that sentence didn't work, did it really, but you know what I mean. Everybody would sort of go, everybody's doing double cross. Oh, everybody knows what double cross is. Or even the Omni deck. I talked about this in a video ages ago. You know, the Omni deck. Everybody knows what the Omni deck is. No, you don't. And even if someone says I saw it, they've seen it once, and it's just not. It's not a problem. It might make you feel, and I get that. I don't want to do things. That's a different thing. That's a kind of values thing. But if you are worried that everybody, you know, very few people, so many people that I usually get text messages from people saying, there's a magician at this event, do you know him? And that doesn't happen very often, because I don't know many people. I am poor, is it okay, steal books from library? Yeah, go for it. No, I did not say that. No, but you can borrow them. That's what you can do. So stealing people's stuff, very, very different thing. I'm not on about that. There was quite a bit of exposure by net magicians trying to perform tricks they're not ready to perform. Absolutely, and that is shocker. And a lot of it's I find people that said, my mate's a magician, he's taught me this, and they do crazy man's handcuffs, and it's just the most horrific way of doing it. The odd person has said they learn it on the internet, but not many. It's usually from someone else. And again, even though that happens, there doesn't seem to be a massive amount of people doing it. People who want the secret inevitably will find it. The main thing is, I wonder if my camera's going to go off. I hope it isn't. If I do, that's what's happened. People who want a secret inevitably will find it. Absolutely. The thing is avoiding accidental exposures, which I imagine is very rare. Good point. I know plenty of magicians and had stories of someone, and other names that I know as well. People going, I saw this magician. Do you know him? Yeah, but we could all see how it was done. You know, and that's more memorable to someone because they're seeing someone fail, and seeing someone fail is way more memorable than finding out a trick on the internet, arguably. Badly formed stuff is the most likely culprit. As far as practice goes, I can say for myself, with 2 kids and a wife, I do everything I can to make time to get practice in, absolutely. And it shows, Anthony, in your stuff. I've noticed that for social media, people seem to want to upload before they get the handling down and expose the trick by accident. What I get from your course, from Gary, is far more valuable than anything that's on YouTube. Although YouTube is free, you don't get interaction from being on a live course. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? If you want, it depends what you want. If you just want to learn some tricks and you want to learn a couple of card moves, you know, learn them on YouTube if you want and all that. I mean, you know, like I said, cat's out of the bag, it's happening. I can't change that. But if you want certain things, we as professionals can provide that with experience. Okay, not sure people who search for crazy man's handcuffs may end up doing the right thing. Steve's course is definitely my best monthly expenditure. Thanks. If my camera dies, I'll go on to my rubbish webcam. Right, thank you everybody. So it's time. Please share this if you thought that was valuable. I'd love to, and you know, I don't mind people disagree. I'm not saying I'm right, and but you know, if you're going to disagree with someone, not just me, or if I'm going to disagree with someone, it's lovely to have a discussion around it, and again, do it with that sort of level of compassion and understanding that we all see the world in very different ways. Right, here we go. The winner of Quantum Deck by Craig Petty, brand new. Thank you so much, Craig. I got one from Murphy's. He gave me this one. This is the one from Craig that you're getting. Is Magic Alon, A-L-O-N, Magic Alon. His comment was, great video again. Thanks, Alan. I totally agree with all you say, and without exposure, we wouldn't learn too much. There you go. So, totally valid. Everybody's point is valid. Thank you, Alan. You're getting the Quantum Deck. I better write that down. I better not write it down now, because that'd be boring, wouldn't it? Great thought-provoking rant, Steve. Thank you very much. I'm not sure people say, yeah, it's great thumbnail. Good, ain't it? Thank you very much, everybody. See some of you at the live session in half an hour. I've woken up a bit, which is good. I was feeling a bit faint before. Wasn't feeling good at all. And in my lovely new office, everything's here. We've got the internet, we've got the blinds, we're ready to go. And if you want to pay for some good shizzle, off you go to onlinemagic.co, where you'll get loads of good stuff. And tonight I'm teaching a thing, my sponge ball routine that I put on the socials. Do have a look at Steve Faulkner on Instagram and Real Magic Review if you want, but Instagram's the main one. I'm on TikTok now, so go and have a look at that as well. Right, see you later. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye. Oh, that one.